everybody, and welcome in. It's the Poor Man Fantasy Football League podcast. We're the fantasy football show that gives you a peek inside the life and times of our Dynasty League. I'm your host, Mike, and with me, as always, somewhere on the screen is my friend Andrew. And this week, we're going to be taking a look at the NFC's quarterback situation. Now, on my notes, I made a typo. I'm not going to read that out loud. But it is the NFC quarterback situation. It is Wednesday, April 10th. Andrew, how you doing?
And yourself?
I feel rushed today. We are recording a little earlier in the evening than normal because I have weird windows now. Now that my son does Taekwondo on Wednesdays, it's either it's later or it's earlier, and this earlier part might be a bit more challenging to accommodate.
Yeah.
Given how much time we've got to come home, get something to eat, let it digest, and make it to Taekwondo. But here we are. It is a few weeks away from the NFL draft. Mock drafts from the professionals are starting to heat up.
Yep.
I was reminded today of this time last year, maybe the year before, when Malik Willis was a thing. Was it last year?
Malik Willis.
I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Where he had climbed up the proverbial draft board and somehow made it into the first round, into the top 10. And then when draft day came around, he didn't make it till the third day.
So inevitably, somebody climbs and somebody falls. And I think it becomes just a matter of, on the day of draft day, what's the team's needs? And then that's going to change as the draft goes on, right? Like they might be thinking, I want Marvin Harris Jr. right off the bat. Oh yeah, I want him. And then, 4 or 5 picks go by, and then people start, well, wait a minute, why is everybody passing on him? And then he starts falling even further. And then the teams at the bottom don't need that wide receiver role and start passing. And not somebody that's like number one like that.
Unlikely.
For him, yes. But with so many quarterbacks near the top of the list, one of them is going to drop. As other teams are trading to move up a spot because they want their defensive player or their offensive lineman or what have you, somebody's going to drop.
I'm worried that it's J.J. McCarthy because he wasn't touted going into this as highly as everybody else. I think everyone consensus was, all right, we've got 3 big quarterbacks here, and based upon need and desire for teams wanting a quarterback, J.J. McCarthy has climbed the board.
Yes.
I still think he's still a first-round talent, and I don't see him sliding past any of the existing draft positions for either the Raiders, the Broncos, or the Vikings, which still puts him top 15.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward, not as that I want it, but I'm leaning toward what I'm seeing is the Vikings is probably where he's gonna land.
Which, in most cases, then they're gonna have to trade up to be in a position to get him ahead of the other teams. So the question is, where do they trade up?
And what do they give up for it?
Well, they have 2 first-round draft picks, right? They have other draft capital. I just read a mock draft earlier today that only puts the 3 big names at quarterback in the top 5. Then it still goes Marvin Harrison, then it goes Malik Neighbors or somebody else, Joe Alt. And then it goes J.J. McCarthy, but I think he goes at pick 11. And then shortly after that is Michael Penix Jr. And then Bo Nix makes it into the back end of the first round.
Yeah. And I think those 3 names, again, depending on a team's view of their offensive scheme, how well is this guy going to fit in? How's that guy going to fit in? Those 3 guys start to become interchangeable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
it comes down to what team drafts them.
Exactly. That's exactly it, right? Like it's a situation whereby hey, this guy might be a better quarterback, but he doesn't fit our game plan. This other guy who might not be as prolific, but he fits our team better, fits the dynamic better, fits what we're looking to do better. Because you could be a Lamar Jackson and be able to run all over the field. But if we want a pocket passer, the running quarterback, right? Or if I want a running quarterback, why would I take somebody that's got no legs, right? Just because he's a better guy, right?
I guess it comes down to the GM's philosophy.
Yes, exactly.
And working with the coach, because you would imagine the coach has a scheme that they're trying to build to, and it's the GM that's trying to help facilitate that.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see what happens on draft day. I think it's going to be really wild this year. I am in the camp where we're going to see both T. Higgins be traded and Brandon Ayuk. I think both of those guys will find new homes on draft day.
Was it? I want to say Arizona, but I might be wrong. Was one of the ones looking at T. Higgins for a trade on draft day. But I could be wrong. It could have been another team. It was a team that had draft capital. That they could
Arizona's
afford
got a little bit of capital.
Like that they could afford to pay him the contract he wants.
Okay.
And again, I could be wrong on the team it was. I was just quickly reading the headlines and the thing.
I would find it hard to believe that the Arizona Cardinals would try and make a move for T. Higgins when they've got the number 4 pick.
You can get if Marvin Harrison
Jr.
Yeah, but maybe if Marvin Harris Jr. goes in the first before them
3.
If he goes at 3 and then they get snuffed on him, maybe that's when they pull the trigger for Higgins.
Let's talk about that scenario. Let's just say the Patriots do something absolutely wild, because I don't think the Commanders would. But let's say the Patriots are like, you know what, we're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. and not a quarterback and punt this year.
Yeah,
that puts the Arizona Cardinals in a unique situation, because they're now sitting there with a top 3 quarterback still sitting at that spot. Their target wide receiver is probably gone. So they're probably saying, hey, let's trade out of this spot to a team that might want this quarterback, and let's see what we can get. We have a 10-minute window to facilitate this trade. And I imagine they probably already had they've already played out these scenarios, so they probably already have like a game plan to pull the trigger on where to go. But of the Broncos, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Raiders, I think Minnesota has the most draft capital to go up and go get a quarterback. And they might be salivating at the fact, like, oh my goodness, Drake May or Jaden Daniels is sitting there at number 4. Let's go make this trade. Let's make it happen. What's the likelihood they trade like Justin Jefferson, a guy who's going to make $150 million at the wide receiver position, to go get that quarterback?
That's the intriguing thing, because remember a few weeks ago, I was even saying the Bengals were looking to maybe grab Jefferson. Other things needed to fall into place. They had to remove cap space and blah, 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 blah. But that it's very interesting now that you say, do you think that they would give up Jefferson for that pick?
I don't think so. Like, it's fun to talk about the Minnesota Vikings giving up the number 1, if not the league's number 1 wide receiver currently.
Yeah.
To get a quarterback.
Neither do I, because you go grab the quarterback and then you have nothing to throw to.
Yeah, right. Like, what are you left with? So maybe that's not a plausible solution. But let's say the Cincinnati Bengals come calling. They got T. Higgins they want to throw. They don't need a quarterback, but they're not going to try and shoot for that pick. So the Minnesota Vikings are most likely going to come up, trade a bunch of capital, or the Broncos even, because they don't have a lot. I don't see them moving up very well. But let's just say somebody comes up, takes that number 4, and the Arizona Cardinals do slide back, but they still want a receiver. I would think then at that point, there is an opportunity for them to go out and get T. Higgins.
Sure.
because they slid back. They got some additional capital that they can use to help fill in other holes for the team. And then they go and snag themselves T. Higgins, plan on paying him. They've got Marquise Brown, T. Higgins. I think that's a viable number 1, number 2 wide receiver combo right there. And run with it and see what it takes. I don't think the Bengals would say no to a situation where they get an influx of draft capital and say, hey, look, KT, here you go. We got a first rounder and something else, and we're going to go try and draft your replacement. In a draft where you're deep at wide receiver, it might be a really good idea to do.
Yeah, because then you're also freeing up all of that salary cap for next year.
Yeah, it's gone.
Because
you have rookie deals.
You franchise tagged him this year. You can't. You could do it again next year, but that amount's still going to go. It's still going to keep going up each year that you do it. So, them moving him now helps their future. Again, like you said, they don't need the quarterback. They got their number 1 wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And pick up another rookie wide receiver. Right. So, but there's so many different scenarios and so many different possibilities out there that a guy could go silly just coming up with stuff. Right. So it's
for sure. They could go any which way, which is why it's exciting.
Yes.
To see how it actually plays out.
It's going to be a real letdown if on draft day there's very few trades. This year there seems to be so much movement with players that I'm expecting on draft day that there'd be another bunch of movement again. Teams jockeying for draft positions, and maybe looking at, like you said, the Patriots. Hey, let's get some cap draft picks for next year and the year after, and forego making a big splash this year or something, right?
Yeah.
Pick up that wide receiver, and then maybe trade away your second round pick to get a couple more picks for next year, type thing, right? Like trying to wheel and deal like we do in our deals in fantasy, right? So I could see there being lots of deals done this year, and that's what makes it exciting. I like watching the draft part just for the commissioner to walk up and say, so-and-so has just made a trade. Then everybody's like, oh my God, we got to reevaluate what's going on. So it's interesting.
The commentary, I think, is fantastic. That camera they put in the green room, especially when those trade, the devastation on players' faces, like, oh my goodness, they made a trade. And then
I don't want to go play there.
Yeah, the look of horror that some of these guys get. You got to feel bad. Like, kind of like what happened to Will Levis.
Yes.
When he got drafted late and he thought he was going to go much earlier.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Well, let's stay on time. We're 15 minutes in, and let's get to some news.
Yes.
First thing off the top. Okay, Rashee Rice. So Gabriel just posted in the league chat the googly eyes, and then said Rashee. They made the announcement that they've issued an arrest warrant. Totally expected that. Yeah. Right? I don't think anybody's shocked. He committed a crime. He made some stupid mistakes, and now he's gonna have to pay the piper. The question is, what is that going to look like? I don't know American law or Texas state law to know what he could be facing here. I imagine there's a good amount of jail time on the table that is more than likely going to be plea bargained out. So you know what? Yeah. We'll accept minor charges, pay a fine, do some community service, and not have to go to jail.
Yeah.
And then the league will say, you get a 6-game suspension for
making us look bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's what I would suspect. Now, I, in one league, traded off Rashee Rice for 2 third-round picks, one this year and one for next year.
That's not bad.
I thought it was okay. A couple guys thought that was selling early. But I'm of the opinion, and this is my train of thought, I wanted to reduce the amount of Rashee Rice shares. So now I have him in one league. So if things go great, awesome. And if they go bad, it's only hurting me in one place.
Yeah.
My thought is he will get a 6 to 8 week suspension because he will have I think some of the charges are serious enough depending on how he plays it down. I'll go with say 6 weeks. So he misses 6 weeks, 1/3 of next season.
But you know what's also going to happen? Because he plea bargains it and he goes, I'll just pay a fine and I'll do community service. Now they challenge the 6-game suspension and it goes down to 4 or 3. It could be instead of even being a third of the season, it could be a quarter of the season.
Or even a fifth of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to mitigate my damages.
Oh, yeah.
I think he'll say, well, let's just say he gets the 6. Possibly he can negotiate down for less with the league. And do you think the value is lost?
Coming out good with that trade you made. And the reason I say that is a superstar last year. He started coming on strong at the end of the season, but it's not like he was Tyreek Hill level or Justin Jefferson level or anything like that. He was middle of the road. Now, having said that, you might end up getting 2 studs that help you
one next year.
That help you for the next 5 years, where this guy fizzles out. He could be another the kick returner that Kansas City brought back. Mecole Hardman.
Yeah. He could be another Mecole Hardman. Yeah.
Everybody thought, oh, this is going to be the next Tyreek Hill. And he's just never panned out. Right?
I was optimistic on his potential before this car accident business. Now that it's occurred, I think it detracts away from the team because they didn't seem to scheme him in the way you would have expected for a number 1 wide receiver or someone you wanted to be that. Yeah. So if they had plans to do that this year, I think those are now going to be stunted because they have to pivot and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
If they draft in the first round another wide receiver, to me, Rashee Rice is dead.
Yeah. Well, and they haven't looked good with their wide receiver choices the last 3 years. They have really fizzled out since Tyreek Hill left. We're going to bring in the guy from the Giants who's done Kadarius Toney, who's done nothing. Mecole Hardman is going to be our go-to guy. Did nothing. We had to move him away, and then we brought him back. Sky Moore with his broken back did nothing. Or his broken neck or whatever it was that they thought, okay. I was even big on Sky Moore thinking this kid's going to come in with a big chip on his shoulder because he dropped down in the draft and he's got all this speed, but did nothing. And I don't know. I don't know if it's, and I'm not trying to stir up any controversy or what have you. If it's a situation in Kansas City whereby Kelsey and Mahomes are just so tight, they're not letting anybody else in to get chemistry built and trying to join the club. So nobody really could come in. You could bring in a Christian Watson who might not perform. Right? Like it's
if that was the case, I think that'd be really bad leadership choices on Patrick Mahomes. You think you would want to make connections with everybody and try and make it work because it makes you better.
Yes, 100%. But it could be a situation where if they're selfish enough, no. It's the Kelsey Mahomes show. It's the Mahomes Kelsey show, and that's all that there's going to be. Almost like Buffalo, Diggs and Allen. None of those other guys got any love, really. The odd game, mm-hmm. a guy would step up just because. Stephon Diggs was just getting double teamed and triple teamed, and Allen couldn't do anything. But really, you look at Davis, who was really pissed off and said, "Get me out of here," because he couldn't crack into the club,
into the inner circle.
Yeah,
or maybe he couldn't overcome Stephon Diggs' personality, where he was constantly saying, "Throw me the ball in every play."
That too, right?
Okay.
So It's tough nowadays. It's really, really tough nowadays. Like you look in the past, the Terrell Owens and the Megatron and all those other guys. Back then, you only had really one superstar, like wide receiver on your team. Now you're having 2 or 3 really good guys in some cases. Personalities start to clash because everybody wants the ball. Everybody wants the attention. Long story short, Rashee Rice, yes, I think if he gets if he gets 6 games, I think he's done. The Chiefs will move on. They gotta draft somebody, and they gotta or trade for somebody, because they can't rely on just Kelsey for 6 games.
Okay, let me add to that. They won't know by draft or by the beginning of the season what
they'll have to
what
make
his
the decision.
issues will be.
Yeah, they'll have to make the decision before that. Then,
for sure. Yes and no. Think about it. If the anticipation is that the league will wait to see what the courts do when it comes to Rashee Rice, it probably won't be till 2025. That's when I suspect his suspension will hit.
You're right.
So that means he'll still be available this year. So they could be saying, all right, we're going to build our offense and we're going to put you in it, knowing that this thing is looming overhead. Or, like I said, if they draft a wide receiver in the first round,
they're going to give up. Yeah, you're right.
If it's like, okay, you know what? Then Rashee Rice, you're toast. If they don't, and they decide to ride it out, then okay, then maybe my gamble didn't pay off.
Long term, I still think it will.
I think long term, I have a chance at trying to draft somebody else the 3rd round to grow off to build from, but it's a risk. So I mitigated it by saying the 2 places I had Rashee Rice. I sold one place and kept him in another. All right, other news.
Packers playing the Eagles in the season opener this year, and it's on a Friday night, which is not very often that we get Friday night games. Even more rare that it's the season opener. Last time it happened, September 18th, 1970.
So long time ago.
Yeah. So interesting that they're going to have that the season opener, and I think it's because it's in Brazil. That's probably the only reason.
Paulo. That's kind of neat. They're going to do that down there.
Yeah, I like the idea of these. As long as it's not my teams, I like the idea of these games being played outside, like in other countries. It gives the fans just something else to see, like the international fans, something to see, and something to get behind. I don't ever want to see the NFL expand to those other countries and have, because teams traveling all over the place. I think it just makes for sloppy football.
It can. Guys are going to be really hard on a team.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of the league promoting and expanding its influence by doing these types of games.
Yes.
And if they do decide to expand, it's in the fashion where we'll build a European league, a South American league, and those things will help feed into the big show, so to speak.
Or you could even, like you said, build almost a second league. And the European League, they played a season, and the North America teams play their season, and then the 2 leagues play in a playoff game for an ultimate world champion.
For a real world title?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that would work out because I don't think the money would exist to support quality players to play in those leagues and compete against the NFL. No. I could see it being, hey, we have an American tier, North American tier, let's just say North American, that includes your Mexico, Panama, and Canada. Then you have your South American tier. Then you have your European tier, and all of those groups, they all play out, crown the champions. Maybe someone promotes and relegates, and they start following like the real football, the international football kind of format. That'd be kind of neat.
Yep.
All right.
Next little item that check. I want to see what your opinion is. Is Dalvin Cook really over optimistic of himself, or is he right? Headline was he's looking for his next opportunity, and he says, "I'm still that guy." As in, I'm the guy from Minnesota. I'm still that Minnesota guy that got 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. I can still do that. Do you think he's overestimating himself, or do you think he still has that in him?
He's cooked. He is Dalvin cooked. I don't believe in him, And I think it showed. The Minnesota Vikings got rid of him. They cut him loose. There you go.
Yeah.
He ponders and he waits and he signs a big deal with the Jets. Couldn't somehow get into rhythm trying to work with Brees Hall. Didn't even crack the field very much. Gets released and moves over to, in the same season, moves over to the Ravens, who are a running team and couldn't get reps.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as healthy as he might think he is, he's cooked.
I think he's, the time of not getting reps, it's kind of, like those running backs that always take a year off because, I don't want to play for that money. And then they're just never the same again.
Le'Veon Bell, great example.
Le'Veon Bell, yep. And I think Dalvin Cook is in the same spot. I think another guy that's going to be like that is going to be like a Kareem Hunt. If he sits for too long, he's going to be done. It's just you're not going to get back to where you were. You need that rhythm, and you need those reps, and you need to be out there banging bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And you spend too much time away from it, and it's muscle memory. It goes away. Memory is short, so
you got to stay in it to have it.
Yeah. So,
all right.
The last little bit, and this is more of an entertainment thing. So. Mm-hmm. Mike, what do you do nowadays when you go to retire?
Well, I don't know what everybody would do, but I know what I would do.
Oh,
I'd become a hot dog salesman outside of a.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But what if you were a Kelsey? What would you do?
Well, I have a podcast. I probably already have a gig, but I know what the answer is. I'm going to go to WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was interesting seeing him in a mask and one of his old teammates there jumping into the ring and coming to somebody's help. But I guess that's what you do. Instead of going to Disneyland, the loser of the Super Bowl doesn't get to go to Disneyland. They got to go to WrestleMania.
Oh, geez. Well, they were the host city, right? WrestleMania was in Philly this year. So.
Yes. Yeah. So it was obvious that somebody was from there. Like they should have had the quarterback, and then Kelsey tushed him into somebody.
There you go. Well, you couldn't do it without Jason Kelsey.
Yeah,
he's a big personality.
He is, and that's what's made it all that fun. That was really the news, but let's get to the meat and potatoes of what we're here for today.
Yeah. Okay, folks. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a look at the entire NFC. So NFC East, North, West, and South. And we're going to look at the quarterback situation and kind of have a look at what is that looking like for 2024 and how is that going to impact us as dynasty fantasy football managers. Now, we play in a single quarterback league. So quarterback does not play as pivotal of a role until you're trying to make that final push. Because you might have a middle of the pack quarterback and you just need to swap somebody out. To help make you that final drive, right? So you want to find somebody that's hot. Case in point, our first group we're going to talk about is the NFC East. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, got super hot last year, was on fire towards the end of the season. It was fantastic. I traded for him. He helped make my push because I didn't have Kyler Murray. I couldn't rely week to week on Jared Goff. Yeah. And Deshaun Watson wasn't playing football. So I went out there, made a trade, got Dak Prescott, rode that wave into the playoffs. Didn't win the championship, but I needed to make the move. Yeah. Now we're hearing rumblings that maybe he's not going to get an extension from Dallas.
If I was Dallas, I wouldn't be signing him to an extension either.
Really, I would sign him. I liked him as a quarterback. I think he's great for what he does. And sure, he might not have one big for them, but that team doesn't seem to win big anyways.
What they're from Dallas's perspective is he's starting to get up there in age. Yes, he's doing well. Like he was probably top 3 or 4 quarterback last year.
Yeah, he was number 3, I think.
So
I'll validate that while you're telling the story.
So I think it's just where he's not pushing them over the edge. He's like the Andy Dalton from the Bengals. I'm going to win you the division title every year, but I can't get you out of the first round of the playoffs. Something happens that I can't do it. Okay. Big Ben knocks us out every time. Right, that's his Achilles heel. He's not winning that spotlight game. Okay. And I think that's why they went out and they got Trey Lance. They're taking a gamble on Trey Lance
as a backup.
As the backup. But if Dak, this could be a very like a Tom Brady scenario. Prescott doesn't perform or Prescott gets hurt. Trey Lance comes in and lights it up. Does it now become Trey Lance's team? And he carries them into the promised land.
I guess that's a possible outcome. I don't think it's very probable that happens. Dak had a great year last year. 590 attempts, 410 completions, so really high percentage completion. He had 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. He didn't do a lot of rushing, which is kind of a thing for him now. He doesn't run as much, but 55 attempts, 242 yards on 2 rushing touchdowns. Not bad.
But
he was sacked 39 times, though.
Is he going down the path, though, of Russell Wilson? Finding every year. I had a great year. But I lost to the Cardinals. I lost to somebody else who we should not have lost to.
True. The games they lost were to teams that they should have absolutely
destroyed. They should have destroyed these teams. That's where, and there were national games, like national TV games. Is it going to be a situation where he just can't win the big one?
Okay.
And you look at like a Jerry Jones, he might be also thinking, I don't have very many years left in my life, and I want in my ownership. I want a title before my legacy, before I die. I want a championship. Loves Prescott because he's rode through with Prescott through. Prescott had a couple of years that were just down years, and he stuck by him. But you can only do it for so long, right?
Okay, well, let's talk about the next team on the list, Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm confident with Jalen Hurts. I own him in a few places. I don't think there's any issue here. They did go pick up Kenny Pickett, who is a different style of player, but that's their current backup.
Yeah.
Any issues here?
Not really. I think they grabbed Pickett for a Hurts. You twisted your ankle and you need to miss half a game or a game and a half. Pickett, you can pick up the pieces for that. You can keep us going.
Yeah, you're not.
Our defense.
You're good enough not to hurt us.
Our defense could probably carry us through that game and a half.
Okay.
So Hurts is solidified. Hurts is top 2 quarterback in the league anyway.
Yeah, solid starter.
Yep.
Okay, Daniel Jones, New York Giants. Future's questionable. They did just pick up Drew Lock, and there's been lots of rumors of them trying to trade up to get somebody like Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to have to happen there.
Yeah, I'm not confident in Daniel Jones as my QB.
Or they're looking at kind of tanking again another year and getting a higher pick.
Because they're selling in the top 3 instead of the top 6?
Yeah. Because they lost their best player and their running back. Their wide receiver core is up and down.
Ooh.
But is it because they don't have a quarterback to throw to them? But what have you? So that team's in shambles.
And then finally, the Washington Commanders. We know they have to be drafting somebody because they only have Marcus Mariota on the roster.
Yeah. That's a team in rebuild mode, and be interesting to see what quarterback they draft, and if they go out, and if they go after another solid wide receiver to help Samuels or whatever his name is, Curtis Samuels, their wide receiver guy.
No, Curtis Samuels is now a Buffalo Bill.
Oh, that's right.
So they have Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. So I think they have an okay wide receiver room. I can see them drafting somebody, maybe 3rd round. But would you rather see Drake May, a traditional pocket passer, or Jaden Daniels, the athletic running quarterback, land in Washington?
Did year after year after year as an afterthought team. So really, they don't really have a big solid identity, right? They've
been losers for a long time.
Yes, but it doesn't seem like they're. When I say they don't have an identity, they're not a a quarterback running team. They're not a pocket passer. Like over the years they've had both, and none of them seem to be helping the team too much.
Okay, well maybe
right?
this is it.
Maybe
you have new ownership.
Yeah.
You have a new coach and general manager. Your staff has all been flipped over. You have the number 2 overall pick. You're going to draft a quarterback. Do you take the pocket passer in Drake May, or do you take the athletic running quarterback in Jaden Daniels?
NFL, I would take
Yep.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels?
Because
Okay.
you want it to be flashy and exciting for the fans.
Okay.
To get butts in seats and sell tickets, get that flashy running quarterback that, like the Jalen Hurts, like the Josh Allen, that
Kyler Murray, the guys that have the ability to both throw that ball and run it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I agree. I think for the Commanders and their franchise, I think they're going to try and swing big for the highest ceiling and go Jaden Daniels, which will push Drake May to the number 3 spot. And that's a scenario where I could see the Patriots be like, you know what? We don't want Drake May.
Yeah.
We want Marvin Harrison.
It's going to be an interesting one. That third pick will be an interesting to see what path it goes.
It's gonna really trigger a domino effect.
Yep.
All right, moving to the NFC North, the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have Jared Goff and former Heisman winner Hendon Hooker, who's coming off of an injury from he had received previous to last year's draft.
Yep.
So he didn't get a lot of playing time or see a lot of action. So as a Lions fan, I am happy with Goff. I think they will renew him. I think they will re-up on this contract, extend him. But I do think that they'll need to find somebody to put behind him. Because Hendon Hooker didn't get on the field soon enough to start development, I think they go and they find a veteran.
Yeah.
To come in that could probably slip into the role, as opposed to trying to draft one of these rookies. Or trying to develop another rookie. I think they bring in a veteran and they try and develop Hendon Hooker again.
Here's an interesting scenario for you. Because he kind of did it last year, and know your role. Go after Ryan Tannehill.
Sure, yeah.
To mentor the Hooker. If Goff, again, twist your ankle. Got to miss a game or two. Tannehill could probably perform fairly well. Or even, I know he went to a different team, but Old Man River there that played for Cleveland, fall asleep on the bench guy. Somebody like that your role. I'm not here to be the superstar anymore. I'm here. I'm going to collect a decent paycheck, to mentor this kid. And to fill in if the number 1 guy happened to go down and the kid's not ready to go yet. Right?
Yeah. Right. To me, I like the Ryan Tannehill, because I know he's not going to win any starting jobs.
No.
But he can probably game manage and let the defense do the work. Okay.
Yeah. I think like a Tannehill could have 2 more years as a good backup.
Okay, as long as he's willing to accept that, which I hope he is. And
yeah. I mean, even the next team we're talking about, a Tannehill could go there, and I think he'd be.
I think he almost has to. The Green Bay Packers have only one quarterback on the roster, and that's Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Getting a rookie is great for development, but isn't going to help you win. So I can see them going and trying to find a relatively decent veteran to help them out here. But right now, Jordan Love is the only one they have.
Yeah, and he's still a relatively young rookie-ish.
Yeah,
he's only had 1 season under his. Yes, he's played. This is his 4th year, but he's only had 1 year.
He was behind Aaron Rodgers for so long.
Yeah,
the ship is his. I just traded. I traded the 101 in a super flex league for Jordan Love and some other assets, some other draft picks and other.
Smart choice.
Yeah.
Smart choice.
And I was like, yeah, okay, right. Because
this kid's up and coming.
I think he's going to have enough talent that maybe he's not going to be a top 10, but I still think he's in the top half of the league. And his
wide receivers could put him up into the top 10.
Oh yeah, they got a lot of depth.
Yeah.
Still going to lose to the Lions though. Okay, Minnesota Vikings, kind of scary. Sam Darnold is listed as their starter. Nick Mullins is the backup. Not comfortable at all.
No, they have to get somebody. They got to get somebody in the draft. And that person better be NFL ready, because neither one of those two is a starter. Unless the Vikings are looking at, let's just play out the year and get another better draft pick for next year.
Yeah, let's waste another season of Justin Jefferson's talent.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold at the QB helm. Yeah, let's do that and try and re-up with him next year.
That's
if they're able to
that's what scares me. That's what scares me with Justin Jefferson this year. You got one of those two guys throwing the ball. Is he going to be a top wide receiver, or is he going to drop to 15th?
I think this is the break year for Justin Jefferson. We saw him kind of decline last year due to injury, and it really it was bad quarterback play because he didn't have his guy because his guy was hurt, and then he got hurt. So he still performed, which was crazy awesome that he was able to do what he did given his circumstances.
But the guy that was thrown to him last year is a hell of a lot better than both of these two clowns. So, as much as I like Jefferson, stock level is dropping.
Yeah, well, go out there and buy him while you can, folks. If you can make a deal to go get yourself Justin Jefferson, now might be the time.
But now might be the time for the seller too, right? Because of the name still.
Yeah,
hey, he's still got a big name. He's still an elite wide receiver. But
okay, do you trade Justin Jefferson for the 101? You would rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. not knowing what he can do,
not knowing what Justin Jefferson is going to do this year without a quarterback, right?
Yeah,
you look at like even Jamar Chase. When Burrows went down, Jamar Chase was like running around the field with like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing?
Dodging balls from Jeff Driscoll is what he was doing.
Yeah, but that's just it, right? Like his values declined because his good quarterback went out, right? Same thing, I think, with Justin Jefferson. So, at any rate.
Okay. So, dumpster fire. Curious to see what they end up doing.
Yep.
Now, the Chicago Bears, we all know what they're doing. They're drafting Caleb Williams. I don't think there's any question about that. And then they still have Tyson Bagent, who started for them several games last year, is on the roster. Caleb Williams is going into a pretty good situation. Yeah, I don't think I think it's a pretty good setup here.
Yeah,
I'd love to see what he's going to end up doing as long as he loses to the Lions.
The Bears are going to be one of those teams that either everything that they've done, they're going to be a good, decent team, not one of the elites, but they're going to be a good, decent team, or it's all going to backfire, and it's going to to be scary again.
I really don't think
they have a good
probable
ceiling.
outcome. I just think it happens. So I think they've done a great job. Thank you and shout out to our friend Evan of the FRG part, the RPG podcast family.
Yes,
he took us to school a few weeks ago when I made some comments about the history of the drafting and trades of the Chicago Bears, and he said all those guys are gone since. And then he said, hey, since these guys took over in Chicago, these are the deals that they've made. And I was like, okay, when you look at it from that point of view,
they're going in the right direction.
Historically, they're making right moves. I don't like the Bears because I'm a Lions fan, but I don't think there's going to be a better situation for the number one overall pick to land in than what the Chicago Bears have done to create him a scenario for success. And I think they'll do very well. Whether they'll make the playoffs or win the division, that's the big question. How well do you do in your first year? If you fail miserably and you're back down to like your 3-15 season, 3-14 season, oh man, heads are going to roll.
Here's the thing though. They're in a tougher division. You got to go against the Packers twice. You got to go against the Lions twice. You got to go against Minnesota, who might split with you.
What's left of the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah,
all teams that have been pushing hard to try and improve.
Yes. So when you say, hey, they got the opportunity to win the division, I think they still got to try and they got two teams that might be ahead of them. I think the Packers and the Lions are still a little bit ahead of them from the talent pool standpoint, but they are going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. To me, of all the teams that made moves and stuff this year, the Steelers and the Bears have the highest ceilings. But they
from
also
where they finished last year.
from where they finished last year.
We can
Yes.
jump the most. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's going to be good. Hey, a little bit of FYI, folks. If you come back in a few weeks, we're going to have our friend Gabriel and some of our other league mates are all going to participate in a little game. We're going to do our top 5 and our bottom 5 predictions right around draft time, or right after the draft, sorry. And then we're going to check in throughout the year to kind of see how it changes. So right now you're getting a glimpse of some of the feelings that Andrew has towards some of these teams and how they're rising and how they're falling. So we're gonna do that. I think it's gonna be fun to do. So come back, a little bit of a interlude there.
Yeah,
not an
little teaser,
little teaser, a little foreshadowing. Yeah. Okay, NFC West. This is the 49ers, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Cardinals. Okay, Brock Purdy is the de facto quarterback there in San Francisco. Under rookie contract still. They signed Joshua Dobbs. I don't think he's competing for the starting job, so I would still feel pretty comfortable with Brock Purdy as a starting quarterback on my roster.
Yeah. And it'll be really interesting to see how Brock Purdy does again. Because really this is almost still like his sophomore year. Because he didn't play a ton that first year. He started playing at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And got really hot. And last year he had a good year. So this will be his second really big full season. Sure. The 49ers in general are a year older. They didn't make a huge splash in offseason.
No. And there's tons of rumors that they're going to be trading away Brandon Ayuk. So if that happens, that Brock Purdy's weapon pool decreases.
Yes. So I think while the division is still theirs to take, I think they could be taking a step back this year just because guys are getting older. Christian McCaffrey, again, he still scares me because he's only had 1 year of a good solid year where he wasn't hurt. Every other year, he's had injuries and stuff. So we'll see how things kind of work out there. Like I said, I still think that the division's theirs to take. Brock Purdy, I'm still on the fence with him. See how he does.
Okay. He wouldn't be my first choice to start, but I wouldn't be scared of having him on my roster.
No, you're 100% right. Like, hey, if I had a Mahomes and a Purdy on the team, I'm probably starting Mahomes over Purdy.
Yeah.
But if I had a Purdy and a Derek Carr, Purdy's probably my starter.
Purdy, yeah, I would choose Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy did finish number 6 overall in the QBs in our league last year.
Yes, yeah.
So
but that's where I say, like, I'm on the fence with, is he going to repeat that? Is it kind of like Geno Smith? His first year there in Seattle. Oh my God, everybody's like, oh, he's going to be the next greatest. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He was
awesome, and then
went, yeah. Everything just went,
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, save that thought because we'll get to him in a second. Next up are the Rams. Matthew Stafford's coming back. They did sign free agent Jimmy Garoppolo, and they still have Stetson Bennett.
I'm sorry, Donnie, but I'm not sure where the Rams are going.
Actually, I like this.
In their quarter. I don't like it at all.
You have Matt Stafford, who's maybe got 1 to 3 years left of quality football play. He's one injury away from being done.
Jimmy's done.
I don't know what the issue with Jimmy Garoppolo is. Like, this is a guy who's now bounced around from a few teams that just can't seem to keep the starting job. But I think as your backup to Matt Stafford, I don't think you're in bad shape with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think this is a guy who can fill in. This is your Ryan Tannehill, your Andy Dalton, your Joe Flacco. This is a guy who's going to be able to come in and shouldn't hurt your team for 1 or 2 weeks.
His style of play lends to the Rams' offensive scheme.
Yeah.
So you're right. I think he could be good for a week or two, but again, Stafford's getting old. Garoppolo's getting old. I don't even know who this Stetson Bennett guy is.
He's a rookie from 2 years ago.
Oh,
and you'd remember him from college football getting stomped on. I think he was an older quarterback when he finally left.
Oh,
but
so
yeah,
I just from their quarterback room, what's your personality, right? I don't understand.
Yeah. Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships with Georgia.
Okay. That's how much he stood out to me.
Yeah, well, because they didn't really need him to do the things that most quarterbacks. He's also 5'11", 190 pounds. He's not a big guy.
Ooh.
Yeah. And he's older. He's already 26, and this is his second year in the league.
Yeah. To me, I think maybe they need to go out and draft somebody if they could.
I wouldn't write off Stetson Bennett yet. They could be a team that goes out there and tries to draft somebody, but Matt Stafford is 36. He doesn't have a lot of years left. And maybe this is the year they decide, hey, Stetson, are you going to – it's year 2, buddy. Yeah. Are you going to show enough improvement? Because if not, like, we got to go find somebody because Matt's not going to be here forever.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. On a side note, folks, I just picked up Matthew Stafford's rookie card, and not just any rookie card, a number 100 of 149 of these. I forget what they're called, but they have his entry into the league, but it's also got clippings from his rookie jersey, game worn jersey.
Oh, there you go.
So I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Picked that up at a local card shop. Guy wanted to unload it, and I was like, I'm a Lions fan. I'll take that off your hands. So
hopefully
happy.
You got a good
I also
deal.
picked up two Calvin Johnson, some Megatron rookie cards from 2007. Very excited.
Go.
Okay, moving along. We got the Seattle Seahawks. You talked about Geno Smith. He had one great year. They signed him to a short-term, team-friendly deal. This is the last of that year, of that team-friendly deal.
And I think this is going to be his last year period.
Unless he lights it up. Unless he has that what a magical season where he's able to make things work. And he takes those beautiful assets he's got over there in Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett on a restructured deal, and the man god known as, I don't remember his name now. Completely blanking on it.
Calf?
Yeah, DK Metcalf, the man god.
Oh.
The guy who wants to catch footballs with his abs. If you know the commercial.
No, I don't.
You don't know the commercial? Oh, no. Anyways, it was sidebar. The NFL did a series of scripting commercials to make fun of people thinking that the NFL is scripted.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do remember those.
And he was like, "How about this? How about I take my shirt off and I catch it with my abs?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Okay, cool. Fun. I love the tongue in cheek there." But Geno Smith, I think, is in a position to succeed. He just hasn't.
Yeah, I don't see the talent there, though. I don't see the talent in either one of them.
No. I like Sam Howell. I want him to be a thing. So I want Geno Smith to fail, and I want Sam Howell to succeed and just usurp him for that job.
I think Seattle ends up last in the division.
Very well could happen.
Yeah. I have no faith in.
Do you want Geno Smith on your roster?
No.
As a quarterback? No?
No. There's so many guys. Playing. No. There's so many other guys out there that I'd rather have instead.
Okay. Fair enough. Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, clear-cut number 1. No issues here. Desmond Ridder was traded to the team. I think it's a quality backup.
Yes.
He's young. He has a chance to learn. Hopefully sticks with the team for a while. Kind of has some traits of Kyler Murray, just not the same quality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
I have Kyler Murray. I'm happy.
You traded me Kyler Murray in one of our leagues, and I'm happy with that. A healthy Murray is a much improved Cardinal team.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a few other pieces in place that I think that the team could do well. Desmond Ridder, like you said, good quality backup guy. Again, there's a team that has a good ceiling. I think they could end up second in the division.
I think so too. I think they have a really good chance of bouncing back this year, especially if they do get a chance to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and they add that level of talent to their wide receiver room.
Yeah,
pretty fun.
Kyler Murray throwing to him, that would be exciting to see, because if Marvin Harrison Jr. gets double teamed, then Kyler Murray could take off and run with it. Even though I don't want to see him run with it too much, just coming off of a knee injury.
Well, they've got James Conner. You have Marquise Brown, Trey McBride. Fingers crossed. This is the next big tight end, Trey McBride.
You know how I feel about Conner, but
I know.
But I think the Cardinals could be a really, really exciting team to watch. A good offensive output team, high scoring. They're going to give up lots of points because I don't think their defense is very good, but
we'll see.
They could be in a lot of high-scoring games. Yeah.
That's the best scenario. You want a team that has a crappy defense but a super high-powered offense, and let the fantasy points flow.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and probably for the worst division of the NFC, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers. So here we go, folks. Baker Mayfield re-signed with the Bucs. They still have Kyle Trask as their backup. I think it's good for Baker Mayfield to be on the team. It helps out your wide receiver options. I don't want him as my QB.
No, and I think if it was a two quarterback league, sure, your second quarterback, sure, and even at that, it's a maybe. But Baker Mayfield just needs to shut up and play. Like in the offseason, he was like, "Oh, maybe I'm going to check out the market. I'm going to do this." No, dude, you had one decent year. Shut up, play, expand on it. Again, the division is yours. The division is yours to lose.
Well, and, it was. Now Kirk Cousins arrived. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. You don't like Kirk Cousins.
No. But the thing is, though, like, you want to go to the play. It's about going to the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl. You never know what happens when the playoffs hit. Your wide receiver could get super hot. Your defense could get super hot and carry you to the promised land. Baker Mayfield, just shut up and play. Stop being a distraction. Kyle Trask, I think is like
yeah, whatever. He's done. He's toast. He had his shots to try and take over the role and just never won it. Yeah. So to me, Baker Mayfield, solid starter if you need a bye week start.
Yes.
If you need your second QB in a super flex. I'd have him as a third QB in a few places in my super flex leagues. That's kind of where I put him.
Yeah.
Derek Carr. There's no one backing up Derek Carr currently. Is there a scenario that you could see happening where the Saints somehow trade up and snag themselves a QB this year?
I'd like to see it because Derek Carr might as well just go to the auto wreckers. His career's done.
Go join his brother. Be a sportscaster.
Yeah, your career is over.
Okay.
And he doesn't have a whole lot of weapons around him anymore. That team is getting too old.
I disagree. I like Alvin Kamara might be getting old, but they do have Kendry Miller. They do have Chris Olave, who just hasn't had a chance to connect with them. I don't think him and Carr get along. They do have Rashid Shaheed, who seemed to do outstanding with Derek Carr. Yeah,
well, we'll see what happens.
I think it's time to move on from Carr. I would love for the Saints to surprise everybody and just show up and like, you know what? We nabbed ourselves a Michael Penix Jr. or somehow we traded up and we got JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
So, now let's talk Kirk Cousins and Atlanta Falcons. You don't like Kirk. You don't believe in him. You don't think he can do it. You think he's done.
I've never been a fan of his.
I'm not a super fan, but I put Kirk Cousins in the category of above average, right? So if you've got 32 teams, you have 32 starting quarterbacks, I put him at the 50-50 point. That's where I see. That's
sure.
where I have always thought of Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's like a Derek Carr, which is under that list, but still a starter. But I think it's a massive boost compared to Desmond Ridder.
Yes.
And this team has I think this is the team to beat in the NFC South. One player change, and I think the Atlanta Falcons, it's your division to lose. Nobody else is super awesome, but you have a shot at being super awesome. So I think if you have Kirk Cousins, I think you have a viable starter week in, week out. I just hope the injury isn't going to detract from what he's done in the past.
I think it's going to all come down to their scheme. What's their identity? Are they going to be a running team with Bijan Robinson, or are they going to be a passing team with Kirk Cousins?
I think they should be a passing team with Kirk Cousins. They have so many passing weapons in this offense. Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson is also a prolific pass catcher. Yeah. You can pass this ball and run it when you need to. Fantastic.
I think the one guy I think that's really going to benefit from him being there will be Pitts. I think Pitts will have a really big bounce back year this year.
I hope so. Yeah, I would love to see Kyle Pitts become a thing, sitting in purgatory for so long.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the Carolina Panthers with Bryce Young and old man Andy Dalton backing him up. I wish Bryce Young all the best. I traded him away to go get myself a Dak Prescott. So it was Dak Prescott in exchange for Bryce Young and a third-round pick for this year.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it. I hope Bryce Young can somehow make something happen out of this situation.
Carolina's just got to get some more weapons around him or an offensive line around him to let him develop and let him. He needs to take the team on his shoulders and say, guys, we'll win with me. Give everybody the confidence, but they need I think they need one or two more pieces. And then he could have a good year or two there. But they need one or two more pieces, I think.
Okay.
I like him.
Now, you do? Okay. Now, what are your thoughts with regards to, where do I go with this? Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson. Those are your big wide receivers.
Adam Thielen he's getting too old. Johnson, I liked him in Pittsburgh. I thought he was good. If he could have flashes of that again, or they go after another one of the, like you said at the beginning of the show, it's a good draft year for wide receivers. In the second round, snag a guy that's a compliment to Bryce Young. Two young guys on the team, build some chemistry together, and go after one of his old teammates. Hell, right? Do like Kansas or like Cincinnati did. Go after a teammate, somebody he knows, somebody he's confident with, and then hopefully get some linemen so he doesn't get his butt kicked like he did last year.
Wouldn't that be nice?
He's got a big upside to him, I think. Team that's not so great.
Yeah, this is a terrible team. Yeah. I wish them all the best. I don't have high hopes for them.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Thank you very much for sticking out with us, folks. Let's see. What do we got going on? Next week, we're actually going to do the NFC wide receiver breakdown. My apology. Running backs. We're doing running backs next week, then wide receivers.
Yes.
And then we do the top 5, bottom 5 episode with our league mates. So that'll be a week today, April 17th, NFC running back situation. Let's have a look at that. Well, folks, I got to get my son off to Taekwondo. So I'm going to bid you adieu by saying, from one poor man to another, remember, if it's not fun, it is not worth doing. Have yourself a good night, folks.
Have a great week, everybody.